Okay, here we go, another poetry collection review. I was told by a friend of mine that I absolutely had to get this poetry collection because it was by an exciting new poet and the collection to read. Turns out that was just a load of BS just to get me to buy it. I was told I wasn't allowed to look her up until I'd read the collection, and suffice to say that person is no longer my friend. Just kidding, but they are due a spanking as punishment after all of the isolation has blown. Today I'm reviewing Gabbie Hanna's Adultolescence by Gabbie Hanna. Okay, look, I don't want to spend a whole video talking negatively about someone else's work. It's just not something I want to do. So I will be finding some, or a, positive about this collection. But before we get started, if you're new here, please do hit the subscribe button. I post every Tuesday. I try to encourage people to learn the craft of poetry and hopefully enjoy the craft of poetry too. Also, if at any point during this video you decide that you like this video, then please do hit the thumb button down below. Let's get started. So I will always praise someone for taking action and following their dreams. It takes so much courage and a ridiculous amount of commitment to stand up and do it. So although I may not be overly impressed by the poems that are in here, fair play to Gabbie Hanna for chasing her dreams. However, having looked Gabbie Hanna up, I do not think that is the case here at all. I think this was more of a business ploy to keep the Gabbie Hanna brand relevant. And that hurts. So upon reading this book, I actually couldn't get further than about 15 pages, 16 pages. In fact, I don't know if you can see, the first, I don't know how many, but a fair amount of pages from the get-go are all folded off because they're poems that I wanted to talk about. Not all bad, actually. There's 3 in here that do have some positives about them, and that's why I folded the page. I did not have to go any further than 15 pages, 16 pages to know that there is nothing in this book that I can take from. And it really is just not great, unfortunately. As I said before, I really don't want to spend a whole video bagging on her, but at the same time, you guys are watching my videos and my subscribers, so I feel like you trust me and I have a duty to kind of tell you when not to spend your money. Don't spend your money on this, people. Again, I can't bag on her too much. You know, she's doing her thing and that's cool, you know. My first collection, Poetry in Motion, was similar. Although I hope it was a bit better, but it was similar in the sense that I just wrote it not knowing anything about the craft of writing poetry. It really makes me want to cry. It feels like, I don't even know what to call her. I guess poet, for want of a better word. It feels like the poet and the publishers, who are the publishers? Keywords Press. It feels like the poet and the publishers have just taken a huge dump all over the craft of poetry. So let me actually kind of show you some examples. So I opened it up. The first poem I'll come back to because it's I want to talk positively about it. And the first 2 poems, I have something. Oh, sorry, I've twisted my knee. I was running too much and I was just trying to move my leg. Anyway, the first 2 poems I want to come back to. The third poem is called Oh Positive. And this is the poem. I donated blood today. Feels good to finally be somebody's type. That's it. That's the whole poem. I donated blood today. Feels good to finally be somebody's type. Now, look, again, I want to be fair. That could actually be a good Insta poem. Because, you know, you've done a little double meaning word play there with blood types. And I think that could actually do quite well on Instagram, but it's not on Instagram, is it, people? It's in a book. And she's got a lot of followers. So you think how many of those loyal followers bought a copy of this book? And a whole page. I think I ranted about this in my other book review about Bella Thorne's poetry collection. And I'm going to make a separate video about this because I don't think it's right. You think how many copies of this book has been sold? And how much paper is being used? Here's another one. And this poem is called Like. Like, I didn't think I was like gonna like it the way that I like it, but like, I like it. Ah! What? That... I mean, it doesn't get lazier than that. And again, she's used a whole page for that. And you think about how many copies this has sold and how much paper has gone into printing that. And I feel like I'm the only one that has a problem with this because so many modern poets do it in their collections. Again, this is a collection of poems. Getting angry, I just can't. Her poem Question. Are you happy or are you not sad? I have to show you the page so you know that I'm not even making this up. This one here. I mean, again, going off WTF moments. There's a nice drawing, and the poem, again, it says, Gabbie Hanna brings levity to the twists and turns of modern adulthood. I mean, if you call this a poetry collection about adulthood, I'm not so sure. In this exhilarating... Well, I give it to Keywords Press, they know how to market. Exhilarating debut collection of illustrated poetry. This poem, I guess, is the title and the poem. Subscribe. The only word in this poem is subscribe. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand, I don't know if that's going to be copyrighted, hopefully not. I understand what she's getting at here. She just wants subscribers, and she's caught in this web of social media. Doesn't belong in a poetry collection. Sorry. I mean, I'm not even going to try and... I have to quickly read, because I've forgotten why I've... Oh, here's another one. Relative. Again, look how many words are on a single page. I hate to think how many pages are like that, because again, I gave up. I hate to think how many pages are like this in this book. What a waste of paper. This poem is relative. Time is relative. Oh, I know why I've folded the page on this one. Relative. Time is relative. Beauty is relative. Family is relatives. Family is relatives. Now I could be wrong here, and I hope that I'm wrong, and that this didn't get past not only the poet, the editor, if this has had an editor, and the publishers. But as far as I'm aware, in the Queen's English, family is relatives is grammatically wrong. Family are relatives. Family is relatives. No, they are relatives, right? Please tell me I'm right. Otherwise, I don't know what my life has become anymore. I've got another one next to it. This one's called Iron. When I was young, my mum used to check if the iron was hot by touching it. And I don't know. I just feel like there's a metaphor in there somewhere. Well, if there is, I don't see it. I don't know. I don't know what kind of metaphor's in there. I'd love her to tell me what the metaphor is. Advice number 10. There's some pages with advice. When I was little, I was the only person who couldn't do a cartwheel because, spelt BC, I was 2, spelt with the number 2 instead of TOO. Too scared, so I tried, and guess what, spelt WUT. I still can't do a cartwheel, but I gave it my best shot, and it's okay to fail as long as you try. No punctuation in there whatsoever. So it really reads like this. When I was little, I was the only person who couldn't do a cartwheel because I was... Actually, let me start again. When I was little, I was the only person who couldn't do a cartwheel BC. I was too scared, so I tried, and guess what? I still can't do a cartwheel, but I gave it my best shot, and it's okay to fail as long as you try. Okay then. Good advice. I don't know how many poems I can read. Advice 14. Another chunk with no grammar or punctuation whatsoever. So I think I've made my point. I don't really need to review it at all because it's not really worth it. I don't know. I've been reading a lot of sort of classic, traditionally published poetry, more than I ever have in my life, so maybe my tastes are just shifting. Now, yeah, as I said, I'm not even going to waste any more time on this. I will say that there is one poem I came across that I really liked. Well, I didn't really like it, but it was acceptable. And it's called BFF. And you can tell she's actually, this is one poem out of all the poems, out of the poems that I read, this is the only poem that I think she actually sat down and put some thought into. And I can kind of get on board with it. I can kind of relate to it. She's used meter, she's actually got punctuation in here. And it's called BFF. And I think she's put some thought into this. Lonely's been my best friend for as long as I remember. He gets a little clingy, especially mid to late December. But Lonely's always been there, every single time I've cried. Through all the downs and heartaches, he's never left my side. Even when I hide away, where no one else can see me, Lonely is my bestest friend, 'cause Lonely never leaves me. I'll let her off for saying bestest. I mean, they market it as a collection of poems about adulthood. And then she writes poems spelling what WUT and because BC and uses language like bestest friend. Anyway. I will finish this with the opening poem, which I think sums up what I read perfectly. Unexpected. Certainly was. Ladies and gentlemen, come have a look. Here at last, another YouTuber book. Just what we needed. Someone to produce the tangible ego of a 20-something douche. Okay, I don't really know if I have to summarize up this video. Again, happy for Gabbie Hanna that she's probably made a load of money off of this. Fair play for the hustle. Keywords Press, I'll never read another one of your books. Her illustrations are pretty good, actually. She's a better illustrator than she is poet. Sorry. I mean, yeah. She can do it. Whether she knows she can do it or she just did it naturally. There are poems in there where she's used meter and rhyme. she had one poem that apparently had a metaphor in it with the iron and her mum touching the iron. But look, don't buy the collection. If you see this, don't buy it. Go and buy a collection about. Go and buy a Carol Ann Duffy collection or a Simon Armitage collection, or anything really other than this. I don't want to come across as that sort of bitter kind of putting everyone down, because that's not what I'm about. But I do have respect for poets and poetry enough to be quite upset that this made it into print, when there's thousands and thousands of poets out there that are contacting reputable publishing houses and can't really get their foot in the door. And yet, because that person has got millions of followers online, she can click her fingers and get a book. Don't buy it, buy something else, be warned. Again, not sure how many of these reviews I'm going to do. I'm just going to do them as they come. I definitely just burped, and I probably won't even edit it out because I'm lazy right now in this video. If you do want to get some knowledge about writing poetry, do hit subscribe. I'm trying to teach people and keep it fun and light. And until next week, my name's Adam Gary. See you soon.